Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. 87% of PEP students placed in a school of their choice. Tensions high in Jamaica Agricultural Society, but why? We have the details. And later in sports, Reggae Girls loses to the USA in CONCACAF Championships. I'm Kalisha Williams and here are the details. The Ministry of Education has released the results for this year's primary exit profile PEP exams. A total of 36,078 students were registered to sit the exams. However, 786 students were absent for exams. The students' achievements were ranked in 4 categories: beginning, developing, proficient, and highly proficient.
In social studies, 41.9% in the developing category, 37.2% in the proficient category, 16.1% highly proficient, and 4.8% beginning. In language arts, 22% in the developing category, 62.7% at proficient, and 14.4% highly proficient, with less than.
In science, 45% of the students fell in the developing category, 33.8% were proficient, and 20% were highly proficient.
In social studies, 41.9% in the developing category, 37.2% in the proficient category, 16.1% highly proficient, and 4.8% beginning. In language arts, 22% in the developing category, 62.7% at proficient, and 14.4% highly proficient, with less than.
The education minister says 20% of the students were not placed in a secondary school based on their requests. However, 87% of them were placed in a school of their choice.
Some 30,778 students were placed in one of their 7 choices of schools. Of those who did not get into a school of their choice, which would be 13%, or a total of 4,494, they were placed in high schools in close proximity to the primary school.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this year's cohort did not sit 2 out of the 3 grade 6 component tests. They also did not do the grades 4 and 5 curriculum-based tests. Therefore, Education Minister Favour Williams says it would be difficult to compare this year's with previous years. Tension within the Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, has escalated with members of the organization with one members taking the organization to court. But as we hear in this report from O'Shane Masters, the current JAS president says the issues identified cannot be addressed outside of the constitution of the society.
Ian Hill, a delegate from Western Jamaica, has applied to the Supreme Court for an injunction to stop the JAS from convening its annual general meeting scheduled for July 13. The matter stems from a bitter internal dispute over the non-election of officers, the procedure for election, and the postponement of previous annual general meetings due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, in the application, Mr. Hill and others claim that as an incorporated body, there is a procedure which must be followed every year for the meetings and the election of officers. He argues that this was breached and the decision this year not to elect officers is unconstitutional. JAS President Lenworth Fulton believes that Mr. Hill is seeking to force the JAS to hold an election, but this is not possible based on other internal issues.
His concern is that he wants to force an election, which we know is due. My board know that it is due, and we're planning to have it later on in the year. And also to reopen the nomination, which was duly opened and approved by the board and closed from as early as November 14th. But we did not get to have the election as yet based on a number of internal issues. So 3 previous AGMs were cancelled for various reasons, some of them legal.
Mr. Fulton says the next move by the JAS will depend on the outcome of the application scheduled to be heard next week.
His injunction will be heard on the 11th of this month, and then we will make an announcement depending on what the judge decides on Monday morning.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
After decades of poor internet and cell phone service, residents of Ailers Valley and Lloyd St. Thomas finally have connectivity. It comes after a $70 million cell tower was built in the area. But as we hear in this report, telecommunications company Digicel is urging residents to be on the lookout for vandals. In 2022, having mobile and internet connection are arguably second nature for many Jamaicans. But until recently, residents in Ailers Valley and Lloyd St. Thomas have never had reliable internet and cell phone service.
It's like a dream come true. For years we have been suffering.
On Thursday, this $70 million cell site was opened in the community. Now hundreds of people will finally have connectivity. Residents told TVJ News the ordeal of struggling to make a simple phone call over the years. Students who had been attending online classes during the peak of the pandemic were also left behind.
Having to catch up the phone them, a certain place you have to walk, go down the road. But now, I lie down in my bed and I cock up so and I get a call from anywhere.
I feel great about it, because my phone then I pick up over my yard and know that it is here. My phone get H+ full blast.
For the kids, it is so much for them to know that they will actually have internet service direct to their home. And now our online class and all of that won't be interrupted.
But why did it take so long for the residents to get better connection? The project was completed by telecommunications company Digicel. Elon Parkinson is public relations and communications manager.
Much as we spend billions of dollars to expand connectivity to rural Jamaica especially, Digicel is still dogged by theft and vandalism of our equipment. When we install our sites and in the maintenance process, we recognize that batteries, generators, and the fuel from those generators are stolen.
Which is why he's appealing to residents to be on the lookout for vandals.
When you see suspicious activity around cell sites, especially in rural areas, it's not difficult to know whether it's a Digicel representative. Go and ask, right? Give us a call, 876-619-5000, or you can simply dial us at 100, as you usually do, to reach customer care, and we will take that call and we will investigate it promptly.
The People's National Party has come out in defense of its position not to accept the nomination of Central Clarendon MP caretaker Zuleika Jess as vice president. In a press release, the executive of the party noted that there are certain criteria which must be met before an individual can be elected as vice president, as per Section 223 of the party's constitution. The requirements include being a member of the party for a minimum 5-year period, being a member of the recognized constituency committee, regional management committee or national executive committee member, and must have at least 24 members signing their nomination papers, 12 of whom must be current members of the national executive committee from at least 3 regions. But it says based on a review of the records, the direct membership of Ms. Jess was suspended since no payment had been made since 2018. The executive further noted that her direct membership was then superseded and came to an end when she became a group member. However, her group subsequently went into abeyance. According to the PNP executive, the Central Clarendon MP caretaker's membership is now provisional on account of her group being re-registered on January 31, 2022. And it's now time for a break. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News and thanks for staying with us. Residents of a small farming community in St. Thomas are fed up with mosquitoes and a stench due to an incomplete drain. Now, as we hear in this report from Cody and Barrett, residents are concerned about what will happen this hurricane season if the issue is not quickly addressed.
Them stagnant water, them pea mosquito and worm. Look on them. Them things are not good.
Complaints after complaints, and still residents of Longwood say their situation has not changed for the past 6 years. An incomplete drain has caused water to settle in the community. It's a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
We cannot live like this. Mosquito go kill we because every morning the water come down. Every morning it come down in our gully. So mosquito go kill we around here. So them must say corona out. More something go broke out because if them are the water, more something go let out. More something go come because this can't work. It cannot work.
Another major culprit is this National Water NWC tank, which has been overflowing into their homes.
Then turn on the water. When the water come down, a straight run here so it come. Rainfall, a straight run here so it come. From them build the canal, we have a problem run here so. So we need this problem to solve because you cannot build canal and leave it halfway. You have to build the canal and channel the water where part the water must go.
And the more the water come down and vehicle drive on it, it's the more it mash up. We need some attention. We want the problem to solve with the water that coming from down the tank there a morning time. If you look, you can see the road. It might be now it's not running, you know. But when the time come, the whole of years of flood out, I'll go to there so too. So we need some help.
Residents say year to year during the hurricane season, it's the same issue, and their complaints have fallen on deaf ears.
That stress we out. That stress we out. Mosquito, everything I kill we out. It a flood out the whole of my yard every morning, and the rain will start to fall out it. So what we going to do? And we not get no help. We're talking, and we're not getting any help.
They say they feel abandoned and are once again appealing for someone to address their concerns.
We don't have no councillor to go to. So may I put this now to the public that we can get some attention to it.
Cody and Barrett, TVJ News.
A prisoner was this morning shot and injured by the police on the compound of the Kingston Public Hospital while trying to escape. The man, who is a patient, requested to use the bathroom. He was released from his handcuffs and subsequently jumped through the bathroom window. A policeman gave chase and shot the man. He is said to have a mental condition. Scores of junior doctors who were in limbo earlier this week can now breathe a little easier after their contracts were extended. It follows a statement from President of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association, Dr. Mindy Fitz-Henley.
So as it stands right now, up to last check, yesterday evening, we were told that all of the doctors, this is from the regional side, we were told that all of the senior house officers who were offered a job and wanted one have signed their extensions.
The association says the non-renewal of contracts has placed an additional burden on doctors still on the job. As negotiation with the government continues, Dr. Fitz-Henley is hoping that more doctors will be employed.
Additional doctors into the workforce. So hopefully we could get them their usual 2 to 3 year contract at that point.
And it's time now for the Business Minute with Cody and Barrett.
In news of investment, Knoxford Court Hotel in New Kingston has been acquired by Novamed Properties, which plans to take the hotel off the market and transform the property into a commercial hub. The cost of the acquisition was not disclosed, but Kevin Donaldson, a partner in the Novamed Investment Group, says the deal has already closed. The amount to be invested in the transformation was not disclosed, and Novamed also declined to comment on how much it paid for the acquisition. And Barita Investments has acquired a massive 1,600 acres of prime beachfront property in the northern Jamaican parish of St. Mary. The property was purchased as the entity moves to expand its footprint in the real estate market. The latest Barita real estate acquisition is located in the vicinity of the Ian Fleming Airport in St. Mary. Barita's senior representatives are tight-lipped on the purchase, but it's understood a contract has been inked sealing the deal. And how a hobby turned into a handmade skincare business with a focus on hydrating the skin. Tune in this Sunday for the Business Review. That's it for the Business Minute this week. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And time now for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, the Belize Coalition of Churches BCC says it will soon be putting forward its campaign after meeting the threshold for triggering a referendum on the issue of cannabis legalization that could take place in September this year. Under the Referendum Act, a referendum may be triggered when a petition receives the signatures of 10% of the voting population. Chief Elections Officer Josephine Tamay says the threshold to trigger the referendum had been met. On the international scene, tributes to Shinzo Abe, who is a former Prime Minister of Japan, have continued to pour in from politicians around the world, many of whom recalled their visits with the former leader and expressed their shock at his killing. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called Abe's assassination shocking and praised Abe as a leader with great vision and an extraordinary partner who took U.S.-Japanese relations to new heights. Blinken says it's profoundly disturbing in and of itself. He also said it is a strong personal loss for many people. Former U.S. President Barack Obama says he is shocked and saddened by Abe's assassination. In a statement, he recounted the close relationship he had with Abe during his second term in office and the extraordinary alliance between the two nations. A number of other former leaders who worked with Abe during his time as Japanese Prime Minister also offered their condolences. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. Jermaine Brown is standing by.
And welcome back. It's now time for your lunchtime sports. Now, former FIFA President Sepp Blatter and Vice President Michel Platini have both been found not guilty following their fraud trial in Switzerland. The pair stood trial over a payment of $2 million made by Blatter to Platini back in 2011. Both men had denied wrongdoing and said the transfer was belated payment for Platini's advisory work for FIFA. 86-year-old Blatter and 67-year-old former UEFA President Platini were banned from football in 2015 and indicted last November. Following a case that was opened in 2015, their 11-day trial over the 2011 payment took place at the Federal Criminal Court in Bellinzona and concluded on June 22. Now, fast bowler Nicholson Gordon and off-spinner Jamie Merchant have earned maiden selections for the Caribbean Premier League after being drafted by the Jamaica Talwas for the upcoming season. Gordon, a former West Indies under-19 representative, has been the standout bowler for the Jamaica Scorpions over the last 2 seasons and has picked up 39 first-class wickets in 13 games at an average of 24.15. Meanwhile, Merchant, who is also a handy lower-order batsman, has played 30 games for Jamaica across all 3 formats, taking 55 wickets while scoring 687 runs. The two were picked up in Thursday's draft as the Talwas completed their roster for the new CPL season. The Jamaican franchise also added 2 other new faces to the squad with Raymond Rifa and Amir Jangu. The squad also sees the return of a top-order batsman Kirk McKenzie, who debuted for the team last year, as well as former West Indies youth player Joshua James. In the meantime, hard-hitting opening batsman Leroy Lugg also earned a maiden selection after being drafted by the St. Lucia Kings, where he'll play alongside countryman Javor Royal. Jermaine Blackwood, well, he makes a return to the competition as well after being picked up by the Guyana Amazon Warriors. The competition is set to bowl off on August 31, with the knockout round set for Guyana from September 27 to 13. Now, although winning his first T20 series as captain, Nicholas Puran is not getting too carried away with the West Indies' 2-0 series victory over Bangladesh. They beat the visitors by 5 wickets in the third and final match on Thursday at the Providence Stadium in Guyana. Bangladesh first posted 163 for 5 after electing to bat, Afif Hussain making an even 50, while Liton Das contributed 49. Captain Mamadullah also made 22 as Hayden Walsh Jr. took 2 for 25. Now, in reply, Well, the West Indies, led by half-centuries from Captain Puran and Kyle Mayers, posted 169 for 5 off 18.2 overs. Man of the match and the series, Puran cracked an unbeaten 74 of 39 balls, including 5 sixes and 5 fours, while Mayers made 55 of 38, including 2 fours and 5 sixes. The two shared in an 85-run fourth-wicket partnership. Nassim Ahmed took 2 for 44 for the Bangladeshis. The Windies had won the second match by 35 runs, while the first match was declared a no result.
We lost the next series, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'm happy that we could have beat Bangladesh in this T20 series. It definitely not only give me, but all the other guys confidence that we could go into that game and just play with that level of confidence and belief and just continue trusting the process of what we want to do as a team. So again, just want to go out there and try to win.
The teams will now turn their attentions to the three-match ODI series starting on Sunday at the Providence Stadium in Guyana. On a quick note, the Reggae girls, well, they'll have it all to play for in their final group match at the CONCACAF Championship in Mexico after suffering a 5-0 defeat to world champions the USA on Thursday evening. The Jamaicans were 2-0 down within the first 10 minutes. Sophia Smith opening the scoring in the 5th minute before turning 3 minutes later to notch her second in the 8th. Things didn't get any better for the Jamaicans in the second half, with Rose Lavelle in the 59th, Christy Emwis in the 83rd, and Trinity Rodman, the daughter of basketball legend Dennis Rodman, in the 86th, sealing the dominant win for the Americans. Now, with the win, the Americans booked their spot into the semifinals as well as their World Cup qualification. Reggae Girls captain Khadija Shaw gave her assessment of the performance afterwards.
In the beginning of the game, I think we came out flat, and I think once the US got the 2 goals, I think, that kind of killed our momentum a little bit, and then as the game go on, we tried to get back in the game, but obviously, they kept on scoring.
The Jamaicans will next face Haiti on Monday in their final Group A match. The Haitians, they beat Mexico 3-0 in the group's other match on Thursday evening. And that is it for your lunchtime sports, and I am Jermaine Brown. Kalisha, it's back to you.
Thanks, Jermaine. And that's the Midday News. I'm Kalisha Williams. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.